Hello, I'm Patricia Henderson with Senior Connection Center, and this is your weekly connection. Romance scams, home repair fraud scams, IRS scams. The types may be different, but the purpose is the same, to get your information and to get your money. What are some of the current scams, and how can we protect ourselves? Here today from the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office is Deputy Jeff Mary, Community Resource Deputy in Sun City Center. Deputy Mary, thank you for joining us today.
Absolutely, Patricia. I'm glad to be able to be part of this opportunity to reach all the seniors.
Deputy Mary, what types of scams and frauds are we currently seeing?
Well, Patricia, to be honest, I was wrong, and I'm actually quite surprised at the scam that has taken number one during this pandemic. Last year, it was romance scams, and we'll talk about those in a moment. But what we've seen over the last 10, 11 months is the computer tech scam has come back with a vengeance.
Really?
It actually has. And I believe it's because we're all on our computers a lot more right now. You know, during this pandemic, the only way we're reaching people or getting out to people is computer. We're doing this via Zoom right now. But the computer tech scam has claimed a lot of victims lately, and not just in Hillsborough, but the Tampa Bay region and Florida in general. And they prey on anybody using the computer. It's via some kind of link that you've clicked on or a phone number that you call that's in an email or on a website, and they look harmless enough, or it looks like something you would regularly go to, such as a web browser or a web search, and it ends up being some sort of malware that takes over your computer. The scam continues when the bad guys then reach out to you, tell you you have all kinds of malware, spyware, your computer's been hacked, and the bad guys are extracting your data from your computer, which actually they're the ones doing it, but then they either charge you to clean it up, say, oh, well, we'll clean it up, we'll get rid of all this spyware, we'll get rid of these different things that are on your computer, or it's an extortion based where they say, in order to get your data back, you need to pay us. We've seen payments from $250 all the way up to $10,000 for this computer scam, and really, it's the most that we have seen in a long time of the computer scam. And it's not just our seniors right now; it's pretty much anyone that is actively on the computer. And as we know, our computer usage rose during this pandemic. So I initially thought it was going to be the romance scam, and we'll come back to that in just a moment. But yeah, number one was the computer tech scam. And then number two is our grandparent scam has come back. Now, it's been revised a little bit to make it a little more believable. It's no longer, hi, Grandpa, I'm, your grandson, Joe, I'm in a Mexican prison. Because we've gotten a little wiser to that. We've gotten a little smarter. What they're doing is they're calling, pretending to be an attorney for one of your grandkids that was in an accident. And because of COVID and people that might be exposed to COVID, there's a gag order. And that is what gets them to not allow you to call anybody else, to call that grandson or granddaughter, to call their parents, to reach out to anybody to see if it's true. Basically, the attorney calls up, says that they were in a horrific accident, that the other person was hurt, and that they need a retainer to bond you out and to begin legal proceedings to help you, help the grandson or granddaughter through this predicament. And we've seen payments anywhere from $2,000 up to $38,000 for this scam. So we thought we had gotten away from it, but they recrafted it to work better under the pandemic. And so that's number two. So those are the two that we're predominantly seeing right now. The IRS scam, for the most part, we've educated ourselves. The Social Security scam, we've pretty well educated ourselves. But those are our two that are really, really coming after our population in general right now.
That's definitely a new twist on the grandparent scam. But you're right, scammers will recraft an old fraud, an old scam, to fit new circumstances. And regarding the computer scam, anyone can be a victim. Even though we think about scams and frauds in relation to older adults being victims, but anyone could be a victim of a computer scam or a fraud.
Oh, absolutely. And like I said, if they can't convince you that they're going to clean your computer up, then they just shift gears and they tell you, well, if you want your data back on your computer, you're going to pay me anyway. And think about all the things that we keep on our computer, our
Mhm.
financial records, our documents, our scanned in birth certificates, employment records, resumes. That's a lot of data for somebody to have and keep. And, a lot of us are willing to pay to get that back.
Mhm. It's often a good idea to go to a local, reputable computer repair company if you are indeed having trouble with your computer.
Absolutely. Reach out to someone or a shop that's local, that's reputable, that you can pick up the phone and talk to, and also that you can go and see a human body.
We mentioned romance scams. Are they on the rise during the pandemic?
I'm going to tell you, Patricia, in my gut and based on what we've seen the last few years, where the romance scam eclipsed every scam we had starting in 17, and it had record breaking numbers in 17, 18, and 19. We're going to see that it did rise, but we're not going to see those numbers just yet. And let me tell you why. If I'm engaging you in a romance scam, it typically unravels about the fourth or fifth time I can't come see you. That's where the scam breaks down. I continue as a scammer, I continue to get money from you based on that I'm coming to visit you, or I'm in a hardship and I can't leave this hardship until I get it taken care of. And then I'm coming to visit, I'm going to meet you. Well, typically after about 4 or 5 times of it being, there being an issue, passport, visa, airlines, this or that, you get fed up and then you realize maybe this person's not real. And that's when they come to law enforcement, or that's when they open up to a friend and that friend or family member comes to law enforcement. Well, guess what? We have the perfect reason right now for nobody to travel, and everybody's going to buy it. So I can actually, or not me personally, but a scammer can actually keep someone on the hook, so to speak, for a longer amount of time. Why? I'm afraid of COVID. I might be exposed to COVID, and I don't want to expose you to COVID. I don't want to be exposed to COVID while traveling. So right now we have the perfect storm for our bad guys to be able to keep that, what normally would be about a 4 to 5 month scam. There right now they can keep it indefinitely. I mean, our numbers are back up on the rise, so they can use it again. So I think once we get back to normal, once we have the vaccine, once everybody's out and about again, once we're leaving our houses, and once it's safer to travel, I think we're going to see a lot more victims, because the scam is going to become unraveled, because then there's no more excuse of COVID for travel issues. So I think it's happening, and I think it's probably happening large scale. Think about all the people that are quarantined in and they have no one to talk to, no one to be there for them. So, I mean, scammers know this. And if they'll just spend the time and effort with them on the phone or on the computer via email or via text, they know that they can extract the money. And now with the excuse of COVID, that scam won't become unraveled for quite a few months. So I'm going to hate to see what our numbers are going to be like starting in probably about April or May, maybe a little longer, just depending upon, what happens in this country. But we're going to see those victims come out once COVID is no longer an excuse.
And you're right, scammers are patient and they will work the scam until it, as you said, unravels.
Oh, absolutely. We had the longest one I know of. I had a victim that was part of a romance scam for almost 2.5 years. It took that long, and the scammer was that good, and they extracted money from them at least once a week, and for 2.5 years. And it took that long for family, friends, for somebody to recognize and realize it. So, the longer they can keep you on the hook, so to speak, they're going to. And it's perfect right now for them to do so.
What are some other COVID-19 related scams that you're seeing right now?
The biggest one that we saw was about April and May. And there was a lot of door-to-door at-home COVID testing. And what would happen is usually a teenager, usually a younger person, would come to your door, take a nasal swab, and then they'd end up billing your Medicaid, thousands of dollars. Well, it wasn't a viable test. The government was paying them. Yes, it was no money out of your pocket right then, but of course we all know we pay for all that later. They were basically scamming the system and scamming Medicaid, not so much us personally. That's what we saw kind of April and May. Mm-hmm. And what I think we're seeing that die out because there's enough county testing right now that, the door-to-doors, we're not believing them. I know in Sun City Center, about every 2 to 3 weeks, we do free rapid testing. There's free testing at Raymond James, and the county's opened other sites. So, use those sites. When somebody comes to your door and tries to sell you anything medically, be very, very wary. Use our COVID testing sites that the county has set up, or use, your doctor's offices or your urgent care centers. I know a lot of those are doing them. But anything medically, when somebody comes to your door, I would not buy. I would just be very, very cautious and very careful. The next thing that we're going to see based on COVID is it's going to be these mortgage protection and bill payment retirement protection schemes and scams. And it'll be something like, hey, we know that you're a couple months behind on your mortgage because of COVID. Call us and we'll help you mediate that with your mortgage company, or we'll help mediate your debt with your debt collectors or your credit card companies or your financial institutions. And they're going to talk a great game, and you're going to say, hey, that's great, that's wonderful. And then they're going to ask you for a retainer. And then once they get the retainer, guess what? They're off into the sunset. They didn't do anything that they said they were going to do. They just basically filled you full of a bunch of promises and lies, and now you're out more money. So that's going to be the next round. We've seen a little bit of that start. So just be mindful if somebody says they can help you out with your mortgage or your debt. Research those things. Make sure you find reputable companies and reputable institutions. People that just call you up out of the blue or come to your door out of the blue. Again, be very, very suspicious.
And as the vaccine nears, I think we're going to see scams related to the vaccine. We'll get you to the front of the line, or you can pay us and get one sooner, that kind of thing. When indeed Medicare will pay for the vaccine once it does become available. And we don't know when that's going to be. We don't know how it's going to be distributed. But once it does become available, Medicare will pay for it. But we will see scams related to that, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely. And there are plans for the county to put vaccination sites all around. So use those sites, use your doctor, use urgent care centers. I guarantee you there's going to be people going door to door in some of our neighborhoods doing at-home vaccination. Stay away from anything like that, please. Yes. Make sure to use your reputable medical facilities, or make sure it's a county one. I know that we're going to, once it's available, we will do one in Sun City Center. I'm pretty sure they're going to do one at Raymond James and some of our other testing sites. So look for those, because those are reputable, and those are going to be ones that don't pick your pocket or hurt your body.
Absolutely. Now we are in the midst of the holiday season, and even though shopping online has become more and more common during the pandemic, it's increased during the holiday season. How can people stay safe shopping online?
Well, I will tell you, there's a couple different ways that we can protect ourselves when shopping online. First and foremost is make sure that you're on reputable sites. Everybody is going to advertise. Everybody's paying Google for their name to come up in the searches, even the bad guys. Not everything on our social media that's advertised is good stuff. So number one, make sure it's a reputable retailer. Make sure if you're shopping Macy's or Amazon, make sure that you're actually at Macy's or Amazon's website. That's first and foremost, because otherwise you don't know what all lurks out there, what links you could click, and that could again throw you into a computer tech scam. That's number one. Number two is I recommend using a credit card when buying online. The reason being is if your credit card is compromised, if your credit card number is compromised and used, it's a credit card and it's just a revolving line of credit. Okay, that doesn't affect you day to day as much as if you were to use a debit card.
Mm-hmm.
If you use a debit card online and it gets compromised, which remember, if we're purchasing online, we do not have the security that the chip and pin is giving us. We're actually inputting our 16-digit number, our check digits, our three or four check digits, our zip code, our name. So if somebody hacks into that payment processor, they can then use all that information. We don't have those safeguards. So if you use your debit card though, it ties up your cash. That's your checking account and your physical actual money.
Mm-hmm.
It's tied up and waiting on the bank and the financial institution to do an investigation. Whereas if it's a credit card, again, it's not your day-to-day operating cash. It doesn't hurt that bad. They can just set it aside, increase your balance, and you can still move forward. Whereas if $2,000 of cash is out of your checking account, and some banks take 30 to 60 days to investigate, that hurts your day-to-day operating and your day-to-day expenses. So use a credit card, be mindful of the site you're on. And also, and we're going to talk about websites in a moment, kind of make sure that you know what the latest scams are, what else is coming at you. I read an article just Monday that there's an Amazon scam where bad guys are just cold calling people and saying, hey, did you charge $800 to your Amazon account? Did you buy this $800 thing from Amazon? We don't think you did. They talk to you about it. They confirm the credit card you have on file with Amazon. And guess what? It was the bad guy, and they just got the credit card that you had on file with Amazon. And it's all a scam. They're calling you saying, oh, you're a victim of fraud, when in actuality, they're victimizing you with fraud. That was just Monday. And I mean, if you cold called 10 people, how many of them are going to be using Amazon? 1 in 8 or 8 in 10? Most of them. So, I mean, that's a pretty good one. And they get your credit card number and then they go use it for, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. So kind of keep up on, what the latest and greatest scams are. That's the only one I've seen lately for online purchasing, other than just compromise of your credit and debit cards.
What should someone do if they have been a victim of a scam or a fraud?
Well, the first thing that they need to do is reach out to their financial institutions, and they need to stop any and all transactions. If you mailed, I've had victims who've mailed checks, call and do a stop payment on that check. I've had victims who gave credit card and debit card numbers, call and stop those if you can. Sometimes it's too late. Sometimes it's a week later or days later and it's already gone. But try, first and foremost, call those financial institutions, try to reverse those transactions. If you send a FedEx package full of cash, call FedEx. Okay, we've been successful at times. And yes, we just had this happen last week where a UPS envelope of cash was sent we were able to backtrack it and bring it back. So call those financial institutions and see if you can stop the transaction to get your funds back. That's number one. Number two is, if any accounts have been compromised, stop them, turn them off, move money, transfer them to new accounts, open new accounts, and close those accounts. Because once a bad guy or a scammer has gotten into an account, they're going to be able to keep getting into that account. So let's just cut it off and let's move forward. And then contact local law enforcement. Sometimes your banks or financial institutions will tell you that you don't need to, and that they will in turn contact law enforcement, and then that's okay. Then you don't have to do that step. But I would recommend you contacting us. If you're in Hillsborough, it's the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. If you're in Tampa, it's Tampa PD, just to make sure that you got everything taken care of, or that you thought of everything you needed to do. Because we'll have you pull credit reports just to make sure the bad guys didn't open cards or open accounts or open loans on. You know, we know of all the little ins and outs that the bad guys can do to you. So we want to help you clean up everything and make sure you get as much of your money back, and then stop any further transactions or money from leaving your pocket.
And that's important to report it to law enforcement. And we will have those numbers at the end of the video for you, as well as websites that you can use to report identity theft and other online crimes. Sometimes people are embarrassed and they don't want to report that they've been a victim of scams or frauds. But that helps no one. It doesn't help them, and it doesn't help another victim that may be in the future for that scammer.
No, and we deal with that a lot. I definitely deal with, most of my victims are definitely embarrassed, but I'm here to tell you, number one, you're not the only victim. Economic frauds is number one, especially in the age group over 50. Our scammers are good. I mean, they know what they're doing. We talked about recrafting and recreating. They understand what's going on in the world, and they know how to con us. You know, I almost fell for quite a few of them. So it's not limited just to one or two people. These people are good, but the more we know and the quicker we can get involved, the less likely you are to become victimized.
Now, a lot of people are holiday shopping at stores. How can they protect themselves when they're out shopping?
Well, I actually went Black Friday shopping in person this year. It's a tradition me and my oldest daughter have done for the last 12 years. So she was home for a break, and we went, and we noticed that there wasn't as many people this year at all. We got there bright and early, and I think one store had 10, one store had maybe 5 or 6. It was not like years past. So I think a lot of people are doing things online, but we are still going there. I mean, we're still going to the mall. We're still going to Walmart. We're still going to other retailers. So just a couple little tips. Number one, lock your car doors. Bad guys like to go through parking lots and check car doors. It's quick, it's easy. If it's open, I can get your packages that you've left in there. If it's locked, I can walk on to the next one. And yes, there may be 1,000 people in the parking lot, but they're not paying attention to your car. They're paying attention to their car. And a bad guy can look just like you do. And it can look like they're just transferring packages and nobody thinks anything of it and moves on. So make sure that you lock your car doors. Make sure that you put your packages in the trunk. If you have an SUV, we recommend that you put them in the back and carry a blanket, throw it over it. Most crimes are crimes of opportunity. And if someone thinks that you have all these great things in your car, they're more likely to break into your car. If they don't think you have anything, they're less likely to break into your car. When you go shopping, I like shopping with a buddy. We should all shop with a buddy, especially if we're going to be out late at night. Remember, the more people there are with you in your group, the less likely you're going to be victimized. It's typically the solo shopper that's going to be victimized. Park in well-lit, well-populated places. Try not to take the very last spot at the very end of the mall, especially if you're going to be there late. Wait a minute and try to get one up a little closer. And, and I know most people are hesitant to ask. Most stores will walk you to your car if you feel the least bit unsafe. All you have to do is ask them. Most malls have security that'll walk you to your car. If you feel just the smallest amount of unsafe or you didn't park in the best place, ask. If you don't ask, you're not going to get that help. And you know what? I would rather take 5 or 10 minutes out of my day to walk you to your car than me to respond as law enforcement and you're hurt or you're injured or somebody stole things from you or took your purse or keys. It's a whole lot easier for me to just walk you to your car. That way the bad guy goes somewhere else than it is for me to come and take a report and try to investigate a criminal activity. And again, don't stray away from your valuables. A lot of times we like to put a purse in a shopping cart and then we walk away to pick something up. Don't do that. This is, again, we've got a couple of different things going on right now with the pandemic and with unemployment on the rise and payment protection running out. There's going to be more and more petty thefts because people need to eat. People need to feed themselves. They have bills due as well. So if you leave your purse and walk away, that's an easy target. So make sure to keep your mind on, make sure to keep your valuables secure. Make sure to watch them and just be mindful of your surroundings.
Deputy Mary, thank you for joining us today. You've provided such good information for us. Any final thoughts?
Absolutely. I want everyone to have a safe and happy holiday season, and let's usher in the new year. May it be much better.
Thank you so much. I'm Patricia Henderson, and this is your Weekly Connection.